Yay. Today we are unlocking the power of responding. This is for pure generators and manifesting generators too. I'll be speaking from the manifesting generator point of view, and Jen is coming on as a projector who's really here to guide and support all of these beautiful generators coming through and learning how to really respond using that as their strategy. So I think what's so cool, let me see if I can just get Jen on. Oh, I think she's coming. I think what is so cool, oh, here she is. I think what is so neat about having Jen and I work together is that we bring together these two very different energy types, right? I have that defined sacral to speak to the sacral beings, and Jen is the undefined sacral to be able to speak to those undefined sacral beings. But today we are here to talk all about what it means to respond as a pure generator. And one thing to remember, if you're a projector and you want to check out last week's live, you can just go back into either one of our feeds to learn a little bit more about that. But this is for the generators today. So Jen, we're going to be talking about what it means to respond to our sacral response as this generator. So do you want to start with any opening statements around that?
Yeah. I have so many generator clients, especially as projectors, right? We're here to guide the energy of the generator so that you're not just burning all that energy, right? How can you be efficient with your energy, but still burn through it throughout the day and move yourself out of frustration and into satisfaction by responding. So I think like it's so easy to logically think like, oh, I know what satisfaction is. Oh, I know what it means to respond. But do you really know the embodied feeling of what that sacral being lit up with full embodied satisfaction really feels like? Are you listening to that sacral hit that tells you to respond and know how to respond in an aligned way so that you end in satisfaction and not in frustration?
Yeah, that is such an important thing to talk about because I feel like, a lot of just on the surface level of human design, when people learn that they're a generator or a manifesting generator and they have this like sacral energy to burn, a lot of times that just leads to burnout for
Yeah.
whatever reason because they're not really listening to that response, right? And they're just like, go, go, go. And then especially for women who are moms like me, and we're always putting everybody else first, from our household to our kids to our husband, it can just feel like we're not really understanding what satisfaction actually is for ourselves because we're always figuring it out for everybody else. So that's what we're here to talk about today is like, what does it mean to have that full body satisfaction and really follow that sort of guttural or sacral response to let us know what is the next aligned action? What is the next thing that we actually want to create or do or be or have today?
Yeah. Yeah. So, how would you describe responding? Right. I can kind of talk about, but like, I don't really know what it feels like. I don't have that sacral hit. So, like, how do you know when to respond when your sacral, tells you to?
Yeah. Well, let me start with this. Took me a little while to figure out, right? Because as a manifesting generator, I tend to be go, 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 go. And that's the conditioning I also received from growing up in my own household, being raised by a generator and a manifesting generator. And also just the society pressures of like, you just like, if you're not working, you're not making money kind of thing. So I had to really learn how to almost realign myself to what that sacral hit actually meant and what that looked like. Okay. And I do know that also once I became a mom, it was harder for me to tap into that. So there's a couple different stages here that I want to talk about. But that general response is as simple. When I first am coaching people around it to kind of get back in alignment, I'm always talking about it's that easy response of asking, sorry, answering yes or no to being asked questions that are yes or no responses, right? And like listening into what does your body tell you? What can you feel in your body that's saying like, ooh, and it could be like a little zing, that like an excitement or happiness, or maybe that satisfaction of, oh, that's going to feel really satisfying or really good if I do that, versus that sinking feeling or heaviness when it feels like, oh, I'm just going to say yes because I feel like that's what I need to do when really it's not what I want to do. And I think many people can probably relate to that, but are conditioned to just saying yes when really they mean no. And so a lot of what I've learned is to start when I first started to understand my sacral response was like just going to the refrigerator and standing in front of the refrigerator and being like, okay, do I want yogurt? No. Okay. Do I want leftover, pad thai? No. Okay. Do I want, and kind of just like asking, which sounds so silly and funny. And I know it's making you laugh right now, but that was just such an easy way for me to like tap back into that embodiment of really understanding, okay, is that my sacral saying yes? So that was an easy response.
And I'm laughing because that is also an example I more so give to generators around dinner. Like, what do you want for dinner? It's not, what do you want to do for dinner? It's not a this or that. Do you want pizza or Chinese? No, it's do you want pizza? Yes or no. So it's just funny that it's so easy. Yes, we all need food and all need to eat and desire different things, but experimenting with your sacral hit with food is a really easy way to develop that. And I think the other thing that I want to say here too is about frustration. I think in society and for all generators out there, 70% of the world, right? We've come, especially like through the pandemic and everything, we've come to normalize frustration, right? Oh, this is just something I have to deal with, or this is a feeling I get all the time, and this is just how I have to feel. No, absolutely not. You don't have to feel that at all. You get to find a life of satisfaction. And everything that you're talking to and speaking to today, Mistral, is how people can move out of a life of frustration and into a life that is filled with pleasure and just utter embodied bliss and satisfaction.
Completely. And if we follow that guttural response, which is not true for everybody, depending on what type you are, but if you know how to tune into that, then you do get that embodiment of this is the right direction. This is what I'm meant to be doing. And if you've been trying to manifest certain things into your life, like we're talking now, let's say bigger than just food, right? We're talking about things like maybe career or jobs or relationships. You'll start to notice things will come in if you tend to follow that sacral response, right? So that responding to, is this an opportunity that I want to go for? Is this the right time for me to do this? Oh, I just got a download about a certain thing. Do I feel like posting that for my business, right? So there's it's all this sort of back and forth, and then leaning into it and being like, if it's a yes and you start to get a yes and you move forward with it, but then you're getting a no,
Mm-hmm.
tuning into that as well, but being careful that the no is not coming from here, because I think that's one of the problems that we all have is is the body telling us no, so that sort of sinking feeling, right? Or is the mind telling us no? And that's a big thing to really understand for generators or just anybody, is we got to get out of our minds and back into our body.
Yeah, and the mind will always hijack us. So I think it's also really important. Yeah. And there's, other aspects of a chart that can make it really challenging. But I think with the sacral too, knowing that there are sacral sounds. So it's not just tuning
Yes.
inward to the sacral. Yes, you can. But if you do have a partner, a bestie, a roommate, anyone who like really knows you and is with you a lot, ask them, because I just did a reading for a generator and called her out. And I was like, I already hear your sacral sounds. You're like, "Mm." And I was like, that's a no. Right. The sacral works in the now. So that's why you kind of, maybe need to keep checking back in with it, because that's the answer for now. But if you're not aware, and you absolutely need to develop a trusting relationship with your gut, that can be challenging, especially for women with the conditioning and the womb wounds. Having someone else know your sacral sounds. Like I have other friends that are like, actually, you make some of those
Yes,
sounds too. And I'm
I
like,
do.
oh, that's a yes. That lights her up. Okay, we're doing it.
Yeah.
So if it's feeling like a lot to do for yourself, know that you are not alone in this, especially if you have someone to help guide you with those sounds, can really help you find that satisfaction and easy decision making for a delicious dinner.
Yeah. And let me tell you, once you tune back into that, it's pretty easy to figure out what you're responding to and how you're responding to it. And actively, as a parent, when I have to do certain things, sometimes I have to make a choice that's against my sacral because I have a commitment to my kids or I have a commitment to a career. And that just happens at times. But I do it in a way that I'm knowing, and then I figure out how to come back into alignment when I can. And that's really, I think, important to notice too, because I know when I used to hear lives like this and I'd be be a mom, and I'd be like, that's not possible, but be
Mhm.
like, no, it is, but we do it in a way of knowing versus just doing because we have to, right? And coming back then to actively choosing ourselves later in the day with a meditation or a breath work or a run or whatever, lights you up and gets your sacral getting excited to do, clear some energy out.
Yeah, I think that's really important to note that, like, remembering that human design is an experiment. Like, we are humans, we are not perfect. Just giving yourself the grace, because you will fall back into frustration, right? Like, it's going to happen. So, how to just redirect and steer yourself, knowing that you can find satisfaction. But yeah, just really letting yourself be human, right? The mind is going to hijack you. It takes 7 years to decondition. So this is really just a learning experience, especially if you have a 3 line in your profile, because then you really get to experience what this all means.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Human design is so layered. And so we're really talking like the tip of the iceberg here, right? We're talking about just the strategy that goes along with your energy and really just generators in this case with that guttural response. And not everybody has that, which is one of the reasons why I really despise when I see online, like, just follow your gut, just do this. Because yes, maybe 70% of the population can, but there's a good majority of us who it just
I
doesn't
can't.
feel correct. Yeah, exactly. You don't get that hit. So how would
No,
you know to do that?
right. That's the worst piece of advice that anyone can give me for projectors, manifestors, reflectors. Do not listen to your gut. It will lead you astray. We are not generators. We also don't need to respond. And that's why we're so conditioned, because most of the world does, right? 70% does need to trust their gut. They do need to listen to it. But I know in the past when I've trusted my gut, no, it does not work.
And that's okay, because then you learn the way that it's meant to work. And that's what we're sort of talking about in these series of lives, is you'll see, go back to last week, you'll learn about what it is for the non-sacral, specifically for projectors. Now we're talking about generators to understand what it means to actually respond and how to hear those noises, feel those noises, or feel the embodiment of what that actually means in your body. And starting small before you just start trying to like manifest big things into your life, because you have to know what it feels like. You have to know the yes versus the no, and you have to know how to take those small steps and trust it. I've definitely worked with some generators who are like, but I trusted my gut. And I'm like, but did you really? Or were you just really in your head still? And when we sort of break those layers apart, turns out they were still in their head. So it's definitely seek, if it's not working, it's not working. So seek, a guide to help you through that, because once you do understand it, it's magic.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about manifesting generators too, right? Next week, we'll talk about just the pure manifestors. So then the week after, we can really put it all together for manifesting generators. While all of this is true for the 70% of generators, manifesting generators, like you have another like quality that makes you extra special that we will speak to. But right, just to keep it really simple, is to start developing a trusting relationship with your gut. What does that hit feel like? What does responding in an aligned way feel like? How to not let the mind hijack and really tap into your body. I know I've worked with some generators who are just completely disconnected from their gut. It does not feel safe due to traumas that they've experienced to connect with their gut. So if you're feeling like that is you, know that there is more pre-work to do for you to move through that, to heal, to acknowledge your traumas before you can actually trust your gut.
Yeah, that is a good point to make too. And, there's people there that will help you with that as well, obviously. And you can connect with either Jen and I, and we can help point you in the right direction for that, for
Yeah,
sure.
because
And
we want you all to be satisfied. Find
yeah,
that
that's right.
satisfaction.
Life is so much better when we're all satisfied.
Yeah.
70% of the population is satisfied.
Right. Oh,
Um,
be a great
but
world.
if you love these conversations, Jen and I go live every Monday, but we also go deeper inside our Planning by Design monthly membership for women who are really looking to align with their energy, with their cycles, with the moon, and really come into their own and understand how they can manifest and create and really align their business with who they are so that they can work smarter, not harder in
Yes.
life. So if you're interested in joining that, we actually have our first call of the month starting tomorrow, and we meet every Tuesday at noon Eastern Standard Time. We'd love to have you in there. You can just comment PBD down below, and we'll get you the link.
Yes. Wonderful. Well, I can't wait to hear from generators. If you guys are responding, finding satisfaction, please comment, DM us, let us know, what it's like for you. What are your celebrations? What are your struggles? We love hearing about them. And yeah, Planning by Design is absolutely the place to share all of that with other amazing women who are going through the same thing. So, yay.
Absolutely.